Hello, my name is Travis Bean, and on this channel we talk Kanye West. Today, I'm just chilling in my household. It is 1:22 in the afternoon. I am enjoying a banana protein smoothie that I personally made. And if that kind of sentence annoys you, you probably should just stop watching this because I'll probably say a lot of things that annoy you from here on out. By the way, if anybody wants the smoothie recipe, just hit me up in the comments. Oh, so smooth, so good. And don't worry, I didn't take an edible today, so this will be coherent, more coherent than my videos yesterday. So what are we doing here today? Well, maybe some people saw my video last week where I listed 5 bands I think Kanye West should work with, indie bands specifically, since he seems to be into that, which I think is awesome. So today I thought, what's the next thing I can do? And I'm a movie lover. I'm a film critic. That's how Chris and I actually hooked up in the first place. Is we were both writing these really long, nerdy essays about movies. And we were like, let's both do this on the same website. So that's what we've been doing for a while. You can find our work over at filmcolossus.com. It doesn't have our complete catalog. We're slowly transferring stuff over and expanding what we do. But that is the essence of why we love movies. And it is also the reason we started the Kanye podcast, because we loved what Kanye was doing on his albums with his narratives. It reminded us a lot of what we write about in our movie analyses. So we were just like, heck, let's talk about Kanye. And so our goal has always been to get Kanye on the show, of course. But when we do get him on the show, the goal is to speak with him about movies, specifically movies he loves, but maybe more than that, like movies I love, Chris loves. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to go over the top 5 movies I would like to watch with Kanye West. That is the goal of the podcast, to get him on the show, to sit down in a room with him, watch a movie, and just talk about it as it's playing or after it's done playing. We don't know what would happen, but that would be so awesome to do. So I'm going to run through 5 movies I would like to do that with Kanye. So I put the obvious contenders up front. I'm not going to include them on my personal top 5 list, even though these 3 movies I'm about to go through would be 3 movies I'd love to watch with Kanye. The first one being There'll Be Blood, one of 2 movies Kanye says is his absolute favorite of all time. And if you can kind of see why when you watch it, not kind of see, you definitely see why. This guy's rise to power, the ambition Daniel Plainview has, the tenacity, the drive to achieve something greater, and all of the people that stand in your way along the way. And then ultimately what can happen when you go too far, when you lose yourself, when you lose sight of what's good and true and fulfilling about the work you do. I think all of that kind of screams Kanye West, right? Like somebody who started out to do one thing, was consumed by fame, and became this version of himself he probably didn't foresee, maybe didn't always like, but ultimately kept pushing himself and kept changing himself to reach the next plateau. The next movie would be Akira, the other movie he says is his favorite of all time. I am kind of embarrassed to say I've only seen Akira once. I love it. I remember loving it anyway, and I actually just recently bought it on 4K. I bought it in preparation because I thought maybe we would be talking to Kanye when we went to Miami, and I was like, I should watch it before I go see Kanye, but I didn't have time to watch it. But now I own it, and I can't wait to watch it again. Maybe I'll love it more. But I think on an aesthetic level, I see why it speaks to Kanye. You know, that red jacket, the motorcycles, the cityscape, all of it screams to me Kanye. I don't know enough about the movie itself to say why it speaks to Kanye. But again, the idea of this one person rising up and battling and achieving something great, I can see it all in there. And then of course the Holy Mountain, which I will admit I did not see until very recently, just a few weeks ago. A movie I'd always been interested in, a movie I'd seen clips of and photos of, but ultimately didn't know really what it was like. And as you can see here, I have a 4.5-star rating here. This is my Letterboxd account, by the way. You can find me TL_Bean. Hit me up. If you follow me, I'll follow you back. I follow everybody back. I love talking about movies. I instantly saw why Kanye would love this. And I guess what immediately jumped out to me was, if you haven't seen the movie, it's basically this guy who looks like Jesus Christ is on this journey, and he stumbles into this, he's on a spiritual quest for enlightenment, and he comes across this, the alchemist, who is assembling together a group of people from all walks of life. I'm just going to read it at this point, to represent the planets in the solar system. So all of these different people in this group represent like social order in the world. There's somebody who is like a god of war. There's somebody who is in charge of beauty and like the way we look, fashion, like kids' toys. Like they hit all these like little areas that ultimately become this the way we maintain order and the way like we see the world and all of the machinations of the world and how we fit into it, and how we become part of this social order. Yeah, Kanye probably likes that movie, right? And then the Jesus figure becomes like the transcendent figure, the one who can like rise above it, the one who speaks to the everyman. There's so much commentary and metaphor and imagery in it that's so cool. On a visual level, it's astounding. To go through this movie of Kanye West, this might take like hours on end, so maybe this is the one movie we would do. But those are the three movies that are the obvious contenders. I'm just skipping past those and moving on to the ones I would like to watch of Kanye West. And we're going to start with Mulholland Drive. Mulholland Drive is one of my absolute favorite movies ever. Well, every movie on this list that we're going to go through is one of my favorite movies ever. As you can see, 5-star rating. I've only given 5 stars to 12 movies. And those 12 movies are just like the most important movies to me. Like they're beyond just like, oh my God, this movie's so good. Like they're core to my being. So it would be very fun to talk about those movies of Kanye, and Mulholland Drive is one of them. For the record, I think any David Lynch movie would do really well, especially since I think he likes David Lynch. David Lynch was supposed to direct the Blood on the Leaves video, but never did. Excuse me, I'm going to take a sip of my smoothie. Seriously, it's delicious. I got this, it doesn't sound like it'd be good, but I got this coffee protein powder from Costco because there was nothing else there and I needed protein powder. And I was like, coffee, banana, is that good? It is. Anyway, Mulholland Drive. David Lynch. For the record, any David Lynch movie would work. Dune, I think, would be incredible to watch of Kanye. Especially since I think the story of Paul in Dune really speaks to Kanye. And while he might like how do you say his name? Denis Villeneuve? I always say his name wrong. Denis, I'll just call him like that. I'll pretend we're best friends. I think Kanye's a big fan of him because Kanye loves Blade Runner 2049. But in my opinion, Denis' Dune is kind of hot garbage. I did not enjoy it on a visual level, on an ideological level. It just felt like one of the least inspired movies to me that I've ever seen. And maybe that's because I've seen David Lynch's Dune, which while like I think he even maybe doesn't love that movie because the studio kind of stripped it away from him, what he was able to do with that movie, like what was left in there from his vision, is absolutely mesmerizing. It's so experimental and strange and visually astonishing when it comes to depicting Paul's journey and his rise and realizing his full potential. Like all of that would speak to Kanye, I'm sure. And then any other David Lynch movie, like Inland Empire, which deals with like celebrity in Hollywood, which I'm sure it would speak to Kanye. Lost Highway, which is strange and surreal and goes down these weird paths. Eraserhead, like I could see all this stuff speaking to Kanye, but Mulholland Drive is the one that I actually think would speak to him most. This tale about this woman who comes to Hollywood. Sound familiar? Kanye didn't go to Hollywood, but he went to LA to pursue a music career. He went to New York, like pursued something bigger. And you watch what happens to this woman as she's trying to make it and follow all the rules of Hollywood, and then ultimately like crumbles because of the way the system is and can't follow the order that's set, and wants to achieve something greater but never can seem to do it. And just the way all that is filmed, the way the story is visually told, it's incredible. There's so much to pick apart that it slowly unfolds over the course of the movie. You think it's going one way, and then it keeps changing and pivoting. It's such a fascinating movie to discuss. I think that would be really awesome. I realize I'm going to save my absolute favorite movie of all time for last, so that's a tease for you guys. Next up would be Enter the Void. 5-star rating there. Enter the Void. I watched one of my most recent 5-star ratings. I would say actually the second one recently I've rated 5 star. Like it's pretty rare for me to like watch, and I watch a lot of movies. I hundreds of movies each year, and several hundred of a few hundred of those, probably like 200 to 300 of those are usually new movies for me. And it's pretty rare that one of them becomes something that like cements and connects and speaks to me in a way that like a Kanye West album would, where I like so intrinsically understand and get it. Into the Void is one of those movies for me. It so closely and intimately spoke to my fears about like dying, existing, how you find connections in this world, and then ultimately like what your impact is. So the movie is about this guy. I hope I'm not giving too much away. It kind of happens early in the movie that basically you're following this guy who's addicted to drugs, and he is killed by the police during a drug deal. And then the whole movie is him kind of, his spirit rises up and he looks at his entire life, and he looks at he looks at every moment leading up to his death, and then he's able to see into the future and everything that happens in the wake of his death. It's incredible. It's astounding. I keep using the word astounding. I guess all these movies are astounding to me, but I just think that's crazy. And again, would speak to Kanye about making the most of every day, which is what he talks about in the Genius documentary. And the way this movie explores that with this specific story, like something so bizarre and surreal. It's incredible to watch. Next up, God, I'm trying to decide if one of these would be better. Now I'm going to stick with the list I had. I chose Paprika, which maybe isn't a movie everybody knows. It was directed by Satoshi Kon, who directed like Perfect Blue, which is the movie most people know from him. Millennium Actress, Tokyo Godfathers. He actually passed away, and I believe Paprika was the last movie he made. But he left behind a small but like incredible body of work that people love. And Paprika is the one. Wow, I do think Perfect Blue would be cool to talk about with Kanye, but because it's so similar to Mulholland Drive, I went ahead and picked Paprika. Oh look, I haven't even rated this one yet. 5 stars. It's a really cool movie. It's about this woman who has an alter ego named Paprika, who is able to exist in this dream world and look into people's dreams. And then at some point, the dream world meshes with the reality of the world. And this guy like tries to take over from the dream world. It's just really cool from a visual level. And I know Kanye loves anime. So if I'm trying to pick something that's not the obvious pick, which is Akira or Spirited Away or something like that, which is also one of my favorite movies ever, I chose Paprika because I think Paprika's the main character's story would speak to Kanye and how we exist in these two different worlds, how there are versions of ourselves that we present to the world and like keep to ourselves. The idea of like performance, all that like seems like Kanye would connect with it and have a lot to say about it. So I think that would be cool. Next up is Baby Boy, which this would be awesome. Baby Boy is one of my absolute favorites. 4.5 stars, not quite the 5-star rating, but honestly, it could be at some point. Like, I love this movie. It's directed by John Singleton, who directed like Boys in the Hood, Poetic Justice, and then his later films. A lot of people think he went off the rails, but I actually like his later stuff, like Too Fast, Too Furious, Abduction, Four Brothers. He's got a really interesting career, and Baby Boy was the one. It was like right in the middle of all that as he transitioned like more into like those Hollywood movies. It's like the most John Singleton movie. It's like where, in my opinion, he realized his aesthetic, where he became the best version of himself as a director. And Tyrese Gibson is just gives an amazing performance in it. Taraji P. Henson is amazing. Veen Rames, he's just like unstoppable in this movie. It's just so cool to watch, and it's about the Black experience in America, especially for young adults who are like coming into their own and learning how tough it is to make it in this world, how the world is actively working against you, it can feel like, and how what you do in that space affects younger people that are coming up, whether it's somebody you're raising, whether it's a child you're raising, or people who are stuck in your predicament, who are teenagers. It's so interesting to watch how John Singleton unravels that journey and that idea, in that that reality that is like the ugly reality of what it's like to grow up in America as a black man. It's so cool, and I just think Kanye would lend a lot of insight to a movie that I already love, but maybe don't inherently understand because I'm a white man drinking a protein smoothie. Like I'm about as white as they get. Do I put chia in there too? Chia is very good for you. It's a superfood. It prolongs your life. It lowers your risk of cancer. Anyway, I was thinking of starting a health YouTube channel. Maybe I'll do that later. But I just think Kanye would lend a lot of insight and help me love this movie more. So that would be great. Have I gone through 1, 2, 3, 4? Okay, so I'm on the 5th movie. And I saved the last movie because it is like, it's my movie. It's the movie that I think I'm defined by. When people find out like I like this movie so much, like it kind of becomes my thing. The movie is Showgirls. And look, I haven't even rated it yet. I'm slowly transferring over my ratings from another website. So it's taken me a while. And I'm literally going backwards back to like the first movies I rated on this other website. So Showgirls would have been one of the early ones. So 5 stars. Look at that. Showgirls is okay. First of all, Showgirls is directed by Paul Verhoeven. I know this movie has a terrible reputation, but it's the guy who directed, let's see, in 1988, I think, 89, he directed RoboCop. Then he directed Total Recall. Then he directed, I think he directed Basic Instinct next. Then this, then Starship Troopers. Those other 4 movies I mentioned are considered classics at this point. RoboCop, Total Recall, specifically, these incredible commentaries on Hollywood, on order. Basic Instinct is considered one of the best erotic thrillers ever. Starship Troopers, while probably lambasted at the time, has like gained this reputation of it's such a great piece of satire and commentary on like totalitarianism. Like they're all considered very smart movies. Showgirls is the one that isn't because of the way it's presented. It's very over the top, very exaggerated, unsophisticated. It's kind of like dirty. It's campy. It's so over the top that I think it just rubs people the wrong way. That's also why I think Kanye would like it. It is a completely misunderstood movie. It's hated for all the wrong reasons. It's hated for being unique, for being itself, for going outside of what's expected. Everything about it is just so inspirational to me in that way that I would love to see Kanye's reaction to it. And on top of it all, it's kind of a cool movie that deals with, again, parallels with Kanye's career, thinking about Mulholland Drive and specifically Mulholland Drive. Like, it's about this woman who comes to Las Vegas, who wants to make it big, who wants to become something more than just a stripper. She wants to be a dancer. It's achieving this new level of yourself that, to me, again, speaks to like what Kanye set out to do with music. And it's such an empowering journey, tale of like self empowerment and pushing yourself to this next level. I love everything about it. I love the aesthetic. I mean, again, it's Paul Verhoeven. Like, it looks good. The shots are incredible in it. It's so worth a watch just to see something like this bizarre. And for those reasons, I think Kanye would love it. Okay, those are the top 5. I have a few honorable mentions here. One would be Malignant, which is a story about somebody who's, I guess I don't want to give too much away. I didn't think about spoilers, but it is a story about like a battle you have with yourself and overcoming the demons that are in you. I guess that's a broad way of putting it. It's like very kitsy ghosty. I would be interested in his reaction to that. Pitch Black, I know he loves like sci-fi. He likes like Blade Runner and stuff. Pitch Black's one of my absolute favorite movies, probably because I watched it in 4K. It used to be a movie I didn't really care for, but when I watched it in 4K, I don't know, it just like the world opened up to me, and I kind of saw, I mean, A, I saw how beautifully it was shot, but then B, how awesome the journey was, especially as an origin story for somebody who would go on to be misunderstood. So much of this speaks Kanye to me. Runaway, that would be cool, right? To watch Runaway with Kanye. He would do commentary on the movie while we're watching it, and then we could release that commentary as like the official commentary of the movie on our podcast. Wouldn't that be great? Suspiria, the old one, not the remake. Nothing wrong with the remake, I guess. Not my fave, but Oh, look, I haven't rated the Suspiria. It isn't quite 5 stars. It's close though. It's 4.5 stars. Um, just one of the most visually intoxicating movies ever. It's just unbelievably shot. I don't know how much Kanye would love it actually, given how bloody it is. But I guess I would be interested to see his reaction. I mean, maybe he'd like the fact that like there are evil witches in it, and it just shows how evil satanic people are. Spring Breakers, in the vein of Mulholland Drive and Showgirls, the story about like going somewhere and like achieving something more than what's expected of you. Plus, I mean, have you seen Spring Breakers? It's one of the most colorful and beautiful movies ever. I would love to just hear him talk about the movie visually. And Wolf of Wall Street is the last one. I threw this in as an Easter egg. Is that the right term to say for this? I wrote an article once, and I realized it's actually not on our website, Film Colossus. I need to get it on there. I still have a version of it, but I wrote an article once called "The Wolf of Wall Street is a lot like Jesus," and it really is. Like I went through the journey on the album Jesus and showed how it kind of paralleled The Wolf of Wall Street, and it's kind of incredible how close it is. How and in the trailer of Wolf of Wall Street, Martin Scorsese. I never say people's names right. People on this channel who watch this channel know that. He used black skinhead in the trailer. It almost felt like a call out to the fact that like they're so similar. So I would love to see Kanye react to. I would pitch that theory before I watched it, and then I would watch his reaction as we watch the movie. Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching. I'm gonna pull up Showgirls here. Go watch Showgirls. Please like the channel, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave some comments below about movies you think Kanye West should watch with me, or that you would want to watch with Kanye, whatever works for you. And yeah, thanks for watching. Stay wavy, keep it loopy.